Well,
Send me your own.
I know. It's weird.
Really weird.
Oh, you guys are there.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hey, we did it at the same time.
That was creepy.
That was really creepy.
Oh, it's Sunday evening. We had a great service. Look at that cross on my sleeve. Representing Jesus.
Jesus.
That's right. On my right arm, the arm of strength.
Jesus.
This is my jersey for Soul Riders. One of them.
Why'd you say yeah?
What'd you say?
I said, was that weird? You said yeah.
Oh, no. Wasn't weird.
No, I can act goofy for Jesus.
Okay.
I can do anything I want for Jesus. Don't trip, potato chip.
We went on a bike. We had service. Went on a 10-mile bike ride. You might not think 10 miles. Ooh, 10 miles, but actually, it's a. It was in Livermore through Vineyards. It's the next town over after Tracy, and it's through Vineyards, and Vineyards are in hilly areas. So
It was beautiful.
10 miles, but it's a challenging 10 miles, part of it. But it was a lot of fun. We had, is it 11 of us?
Yeah, that was 11.
It was 11 of us. There was supposed to be a few more, but, things happen. But 11 was a good group.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
It was nice. It was good.
Yeah?
Did you guys miss us yesterday? Did you? You don't want to say anything.
What do you mean?
Because
get
it was Saturday.
I know. I was tired. Friday, my son...
Well, you had graduation.
Yeah, Friday, David graduated. David Jr.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you had a meeting all the way in San Francisco.
No, I didn't.
Oh, Concord.
Yeah.
Concord, not San Francisco.
Don't fib.
Concord. Well, I just know that you said towards the Bay Area, that it was Concord. And then you raced back over here, and then you had to go all the way to Turlock for the graduation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to pick up the young lady, Rosalia.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to get all of those errands done.
Yeah.
And it was really, really late.
So we weren't able to do a video Friday night.
Yeah, because we were kind of not even home or anywhere where we could do a video as well.
Yeah.
So it got really hard for us, guys.
Yeah. So today was a busy day. We had service. We had a bike ride. 11 of us went. It was really fun. It was hot. It was challenging. But if you have a bike, you can be a soul rider. Don't matter where you're at. What's good about it, I actually brought it up on my tablet here because it's easier to see, is we operate through imagine a Facebook for cyclists. And we have this app. Bam. Oh, wait. It's too bright. Oh, no. We're back here.
Wait.
No. It's reflect. No. Oh, wait. You know what? If I turn this down, it's too bright. That's what's happening. So forget we just did that. Just whoosh, wipe it off your mind. Did you do it? There it is. Strava.
Hello.
This app is like the Facebook for people that like to cycle. And we'd love, if you have a bike, to get that app, Strava, and become a friend. Let me know. And we all friend request each other. And what's cool about it is that we have our own group within it. It's kind of like, Facebook, you do those little groups. Mm-hmm. Or you do a page, something like that, right? Mm-hmm. So we have our own Soul Rider page within Strava. This is us, Soul Riders. It says 31 cyclists, and we get to create events. Like here's the next event, Monterey Bay. See it down there. Monterey Bay, the June 29th. You click on it, and anyways, it's really fun, guys. So
anyways, we did miss you guys.
Yeah.
We missed you a lot. I know that on Friday morning we had a really good devotional.
Yeah.
You know, it's a really good devotional. We had it in our kitchen.
Yeah, we were going to show you how to cook.
No, I do love to cook though, you guys. I really do.
I like to eat.
I do love to cook. I miss it. I miss my baking actually. I miss my baking a lot. But anyways, I do love to cook. But I'm glad that he was able to use the illustration that he did about the apple. And I think being in the kitchen was a good opportunity to be able to do that. So, you know, I was able to read through the comments and everything, and it was a touchy subject. I seen a lot of the comments, and it was an emotional subject for me, and it was hard for me not to respond at that moment. You know, for many reasons, you know, as well. But I'm grateful and thank you for all your comments, and thank you to everybody who continues to just chime in and just be there and be such a beautiful part of our journey, and just being there with us and coming in and tuning in every day and being part of this family. We love you guys. We really do. You guys have truly become part of such a special part of our hearts, and we look forward to your comments and just forward to getting to know you guys personally and you know, collectively, individually. And we've actually have even personally become friends with some of you, and we look forward to growing relationships with a lot of you as well. We really do.
Amen.
So thank you for that. Let
So,
me turn this down.
yeah, also on the ride, of course, famous Gabe was there. Those of you that don't know, Gabe has an amazing YouTube channel. He just has a few videos, but the few he has are very powerful. And you see him commenting on here, and I just joke around. I call him Famous Gabe. So I wanted to talk about a small passage.
Okay. Are you thinking Amazon or something?
No. Colossians. In the book of Colossians.
Okay.
The book of Colossians is written. Paul wrote it to the city of Colossae, and I think it's a very simple yet important passage. Colossians chapter 1. I'm just going to read 12 through 14. 3 verses is what we're going to talk about today.
Colossians what? I'm sorry.
Chapter 1.
12 through 14?
Yeah. If you guys didn't get a chance, watch yesterday's sermon. It's called The Broken Spirit. It's a sermon on an Old Testament story that a lot of people don't talk about, and even when they do talk about it, don't really break it down in that way. And the reason I'm saying is I had a lot of people after say, man, they really got blessed by that, and they never saw it like that, those that did know that story. So if you have time today, watch it, you know.
I think it's a story that a lot of people don't even know about.
Yeah, so
To
it's...
be honest.
Yeah, so...
I got a lot of that. People are like, I didn't even know that story really... Because it's not a story that's really spoken about a lot.
Yeah, well, you just kind of skim through it. And
Yeah.
that's the thing about the Bible. You got to dig deep. You know, you can just kind of skim through, but it's very surfacey, and not realizing sometimes how rich it can be when you just start digging.
Yeah.
And anyways, in Colossians chapter 1, verse 12 through 14, I'm going to read it all the way through, the 3 verses, and then we'll talk about each one. Verse 12, giving thanks to the Father who has qualified us to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in the light. He has delivered us from the power of darkness and conveyed us into the kingdom of the Son of his love, in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins. Do you have it in the message? Mm-hmm. Can you read 12 through 14?
Oh, yes, I can. So, Because I didn't bring my glasses, so I'm going to let you read it. I'm sorry. I've been really irresponsible bringing my glasses, guys. I'm so sorry.
Okay. It says, thanking the Father who makes us strong enough to take part in everything bright and beautiful that He has for us. God rescued us from dead-end alleys and dark dungeons. He set us up in the kingdom of the Son He loves so much. The Son who got us out of the pit we were in, got rid of the sins we were doomed to keep repeating. That's the Message translation. I like to use the Message translation as a supplement. I don't ever use the Message to study from because it's very, very simplified, but I use it as a supplement. And anyways, I want to talk about what this is saying, and I think it'll encourage you, bless you. Verse 12, let's start there. Remember, it's 12, 13, and 14. So we're going to talk about each one. It says, giving thanks to the Father who has qualified us. So number one, you cannot qualify yourself to the inheritance of God. That's a good thing. Can you imagine if you had to qualify yourself? See, we can all try out to be an NFL player, but most of us won't qualify. You can try to run for president, but you won't be able to qualify yourself. So this is one good thing, is the fact that right here we give thanks to God who has qualified us. So you can't qualify yourself, but that's a good thing. It's God that qualifies.
Why would we want to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the one that qualifies us, so it's like we give thanks to Him. So it's like, instead of, can you imagine trying to reach qualification? And that takes that whole thing away. See, you know what when you try to reach to qualify, that's called religion. When you're trying to get somewhere on your own standing. But we're not talking about religion. We're talking about relationship. And in a relationship, this is saying, man, give thanks to the Father who has qualified us. So it's Him that qualifies us.
When we try to qualify ourselves, we oversee the imperfections. We oversee the things, and unfortunately, that's not a good thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it says here, He qualified us to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in the light. So there's an inheritance. And I don't have to qualify for it. He qualifies us.
Yeah.
So verse 13, and this is kind of the pre-verse before 13. This is the meat of this, what we're trying to say here. So because He qualified us, right, and to the inheritance, look what it says. He has delivered us from the power of darkness. He's delivered us. Again, you cannot deliver yourself. You cannot set yourself free. There might be somebody watching this that maybe you stumbled onto this video, and I get this question a lot on Facebook, on email, on comments of saying, what can I do? How do I live a better life? How do I, and I say, you got to surrender to Jesus. And they're like, yeah, but how do I do it? What do I have to do? And I'm like, you have to surrender to Jesus. You have to give Him everything. You have to give Him all. You have to be to the point that if you've hit rock bottom, you're like, there's nothing else to do. You have to surrender to Him. Surrender all. Surrender your desires. Surrender your wants. Surrender your dreams. Surrender everything. It's got to be surrendered to Him. But anyways, it says He has delivered us from the power of darkness. So a lot of times the enemy wants to make us believe. I hear many people say, man, I can't. I can't stop gangbanging. I can't stop drinking. I can't stop smoking weed. I can't stop this. I can't stop that. There's a power of darkness there.
Yeah.
There's a power that's holding them down.
Like a soul tie.
Yeah, there's a power that's holding you down. Okay, and you think you can't get out of it. But what is Scripture saying? Because what is truth? What you think or what Scripture says? I'm sorry, but if you're contradicting what Scripture says, you're the one that's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm the one that's wrong if I'm doing contrary to what Scripture says, because this Scripture says that He has delivered us from the power of darkness. So how can you be delivered out of a power? Only one way, by something more powerful. That's the only way. That is the only way. How can you be delivered? How does a nation liberate another nation? By being more powerful than the nation that oppressed.
Yeah.
So the very fact that God delivers you from the power of darkness is an automatic reality that God is greater than the power of darkness. So He has delivered us from the power of darkness. See, and that's one thing just to be set free.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be delivered. But look what the next part of the verse is. He has delivered us from the power of darkness and conveyed us into the kingdom of the Son of His love. So He takes us from point A to point B.
Yeah.
He doesn't, can you imagine?
He doesn't just deliver us and say, okay, go figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
Go, okay, here, I already delivered you and you're just going to have to go from there.
Imagine these poor kids that the sex trafficking, human trafficking.
Yeah.
These young girls that, like that movie Taken, remember? Imagine this young girl being trapped in darkness, and somebody comes and saves her and then leaves her in the street.
Yeah.
You just delivered her out of that bondage to do what?
Yeah. To give her no direction.
But God says, no, I will deliver you from darkness and put you in my kingdom.
Yes.
I will put you in your rightful place. I will put you in a place where you can grow. I will put you in a place where you can flourish.
It's almost like when people are getting released from prison and everything, it's like a lot of the times that's why you get programs and things like that to, to situate them, to help them and to release them back into society and to things like that, and sometimes they do release them to nothing, no direction.
Yeah, I remember I went to Halfway House in Oakland. Yeah. And there was this man that I mean, honestly, a lot of people that get out of prison, if you don't have a family support or something, chances are you're going to go right back. Yeah. There was this guy that had done 26 years in prison. So his family died off. His mom and dad died off. So he came out and he was in the Halfway House with us. And he says, I don't like it out here. I don't got nothing. And he actually went and robbed a store while at the Halfway House, because they would give you a couple hours a day to look for a job. And he purposely went to rob a place without a gun, acting like he had a gun, just so he can get violated to go back. Why? Because they released him out. In other words, he was delivered out, but was not put anywhere. But God says He'll deliver you from the darkness, power of darkness, and convey you into the kingdom of the Son of His love. He does not give you freedom from bondage just to leave you. He's going to take you somewhere. He's taking you somewhere. And then it goes on to the verse 14, which says this: in whom we have redemption through His blood, the forgiveness of sins. Now that word redemption is I think we're going to stay on for the rest of the video. The word redemption.
Oh, I've been bought from.
The word redeem in the Bible means this: like if there was a servant or a slave, because back then there was no middle class. You were either well off or you were so poor that you would basically sell yourself into slavery. Because at that time, the people that would have slaves or servants, they had certain laws they had to follow on how to treat them. They had to give them food. They had to give them housing. They had to give them all these things. They had to treat them right. Yeah. This is a different slavery than what we saw happening in the United States.
Yeah.
That's something way different, where they were bringing them from Africa and they were beating them. And I mean, just a whole different thing.
Well, it's different because they had to have a certain kind of loyalty to them, right?
Yeah, it was a whole different thing back then. A lot of people that didn't have money, they would actually sell themselves as slaves because at least they would get a roof on their head and they would get a meal every day and they'll be treated right. They would basically be part of the family, So anyways, what would happen is if somebody would come and buy a slave from somebody else that had one, the word is they would redeem you. They would pay the debt, or they would pay the amount of money in order to release you from the person that owned you. So in other words, if they did that, they would redeem you. And so the word in the Bible is that Jesus came and that we were slaves to sin. We were slaves to sin. We were in bondage, and our owner does not treat us very well at that time, which is the enemy, which is sin. He has us in bondage. He has us in chains. And Jesus came and says, I'm going to redeem you. I'm going to set you free. And it'd be like the enemy, the slave owner, saying to Jesus, nah, you can't have them. And Jesus saying, why not? And then the enemy saying, because the cost is too great. And it'd be like Jesus saying, well, what, $100 for them? Nope. $500 for them? Nope. More. $1 million for them? Nope. And Jesus says, what do I got to do? Because I really want them. You have to give your life for them. Oh, that's what it costs? Okay. Tell you what, I'm about to set the whole world free. And he redeemed us with his blood. See, Jesus didn't come to set us free with any amount of money. He says, I will lay my life down and shed my blood for the payment to set the captives free.
Yes.
So he takes us out of darkness, brings us into his kingdom because he paid for us. He redeemed us. He paid for us. How many times do I say that a lot of times people stomp all over salvation? They treat salvation as if it's nothing.
Yeah.
And I think it's a wrong point of view, because a lot of times, because salvation is free for us, we stomp all over it. If you pay $1,000 for something, and if you pay $1 for something, I guarantee you're going to treat both things way different from each other, because one has value. The other one doesn't. You go to the Dollar Tree and you buy a cup, and the cup breaks, big deal.
Yeah. That's true.
But you buy something for $1,000 and it breaks. It's a whole different thing. So a lot of times, because we receive the salvation of Christ freely, we treat it like it's something from Dollar Tree.
Yeah. We treat it with disregard. Some people treat it with disregard, or not the same
Yeah.
value.
And here's the problem, though, is that we treat salvation as if it's free, and it is not free. It's just not you that paid for it. And the cost of that salvation was somebody's life. Somebody that was disfigured and beat and nailed to 2 pieces of wood and died an excruciating death for you. Because he paid for you. So, if he paid for you, when somebody would redeem someone, that person that redeemed them would now become their Lord.
And not because he had to, because he wanted to.
I like this saying. I remember seeing it on something where it said that the nails didn't hold him to the cross. His love for us did.
His love for us did. And I think that a lot of people don't always see that it wasn't because of obligation. He chose to.
Yeah.
He chose to.
So, I mean, what are we saying in this video? What is it that we're saying? We're saying that he qualifies you. He took you out of darkness, brought you into his kingdom, and he did it by his blood.
Yes.
He redeemed us by his blood. That's what it says here. In whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins. Because he shed his blood, sins were forgiven.
Amen.
You know, and it's like, and real quick, I know we're already at 25 minutes, so I'm just going to end it real quick. A lot of times people have said, why does blood have to be shed? What does that have to do with anything? And I want to take you back to the story of Adam and Eve. The story of Adam and Eve is that they were in the garden and they were perfect beings, but then they fell into sin. And then after that, they started to hide from God, and they hid in the bushes. And God comes into the garden and says, Adam, where are you? And then Adam comes out and says, well, I was ashamed because I realized I was naked. And that whole conversation, he says, who told you that? Who told you that? You know, so the very first time blood was ever shed on this earth was God himself having to kill an animal in order to cover their nakedness. So the very first time, in other words, because Adam and Eve sinned, this poor animal had to shed its blood in order to cover their sins. So it was a perfect picture of what Jesus was going to do later. Because to cover the sins of Adam and Eve, this animal had to shed its blood in order to cover them with their skins.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect picture because later on, Jesus came to shed his blood to cover the sins of humanity.
Wow.
So, and you know what's so beautiful is Jesus says, all you got to do is believe it and receive me. The gift is yours. The cost is already paid for. It's already a done deal. But by faith, we are saved. By believing in the things that he says, believing he says what he says, and we believe in who he says he is, we receive the free gift of salvation.
Amen.
So,
Amen. That's good.
that's today's talk. And I I pray it blessed you. I pray it finds you in a good situation this week, that you have a great week, a blessed week.
Amen.
That you have a good day, and we look forward to hearing from you. We always look forward to hearing from you. Mm-hmm. We thank you. We appreciate you. Share it. Share our channel with somebody that needs to hear this stuff. You know, because there's hurting people out there, or there's people that are seeking God. There are people that are seeking just, you know, real straight up biblical teaching without an agenda. You know, and there's people that need to hear these things, because we can't let people get the taste of Christianity through somebody that flies around in personal jets.
You know, sometimes we don't realize that people need to hear something more than what we think they do. You know, even in service, you know, yesterday, because you're actually watching this tomorrow, but even in service yesterday, when we did do the altar call, you know, I did a call out to women, and you know, mostly all the women of our church came out to the altar, because a lot of them have experienced, you know, what we had spoken of. And a lot of the times we don't realize and truly realize what people go through in their lives. So it takes for us to be able to share things with people that we know, or just to simply share something with them. So we got to be bold. We really do got to be bold. And maybe we just got to be bold enough to maybe even share one of these devotionals with somebody that we love. Maybe it takes that little step, you know?
Amen.
Yeah.
All right,
You
guys.
guys have a blessed day, okay?
All right.
God bless you.
God bless.
Bye-bye.